To his family and community, he was a product of faith and traditional values. A young man raised in the Mormon and Republican heartland of southern Utah. He was a high school graduate, an apprentice electrician, someone with a clear, simple future ahead of him. But on September 10th, 2025, the world saw a different side of Tyler Robinson, a side that investigators believe was fueled by a hidden, simmering radicalism, a side that pulled the trigger and sent a shockwave across a deeply divided nation. How does a hometown kid become an assassin? How does a life built on order and belief spiral into an act of shocking political violence? This is the making of Tyler Robinson. The evening of September 10th, 2025, was charged with political energy at Utah Valley University. Conservative activist and Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk was on stage speaking to a large crowd. It was a familiar scene in American politics, a polarizing figure addressing his fervent supporters. But no one could have anticipated how this event would end. In the middle of the speech, the sharp crack of a high-powered rifle echoed across the campus. Chaos erupted. In an instant, Charlie Kirk, a titan of the modern conservative movement, fell. He was struck by a single, precisely aimed bullet. The attack was sudden, brutally efficient, and undeniably political. As panic swept through the crowd, the shooter vanished, leaving behind a scene of terror and a nation grappling with a horrifying new reality: a political assassination on American soil. To understand the man accused of this crime, you have to go 250 miles south of the university, to the small, sun-drenched city of Washington, Utah. This is where 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson grew up. His world was defined by two powerful forces: the Republican Party and the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. His parents, a social worker and a local business owner, were registered Republicans, and the family was active in their local Mormon ward. By all accounts, Tyler's upbringing was quintessentially American, rooted in family, faith, and community. He graduated from Pineview High School in 2021, and after a brief semester at Utah State University, settled on a practical career, enrolling in an electrical apprenticeship program. There was nothing in his public life to suggest a capacity for violence. Those who knew him described him as reserved, even funny, a young man who liked video games. On the surface, he was just another young man from a conservative religious family, charting a familiar course. It's this facade of normalcy that makes the events of September 10th so deeply disturbing. Because beneath that placid surface, a radical transformation was taking place, completely unseen by those closest to him. As authorities swarmed the Utah Valley University campus, the investigation began. The weapon, a high-powered rifle, was recovered, and DNA on it would later be matched to Tyler Robinson. But the most chilling evidence offered a direct glimpse into the shooter's mindset. Investigators found a note, allegedly written by Robinson, stating he had the opportunity to kill one of the nation's leading conservative voices, and I'm going to take it. It was clear this wasn't a random act of violence. The killing of Charlie Kirk was an ideologically motivated assassination. Utah's Governor Spencer Cox said friends confirmed Robinson had been going deep into dark places of the internet, suggesting his radical turn was fueled online. Investigators now knew they weren't just looking for a shooter, they were looking for a radical. The search immediately became a top national priority, a sprawling 33-hour manhunt that put the entire region on edge. The question was no longer just who did this, but where were they? The intense manhunt didn't end in a hail of gunfire or a dramatic standoff. Instead, it came to a surprisingly quiet end with a phone call. As their son's face was broadcast across the country, Tyler Robinson's parents, fearing for his safety, reached out to a retired police detective they trusted to arrange a peaceful surrender. Following that negotiation, Tyler Robinson, accompanied by his parents, walked into the sheriff's office in his home county and turned himself in. The 22-year-old accused of a cold-blooded political assassination surrendered without a fight. The manhunt was over. But the surrender only deepened the mystery. How could the same person who meticulously planned and executed such a violent act then give himself up so passively? This contradiction, the calculated killer and the son who comes home to his parents, would become a central puzzle in the case. Following his arrest, he was transferred to the Utah County Jail and remains in custody. With Tyler Robinson in custody, the investigation shifted from who to the far more complex question of why. How did a young man from a conservative Mormon background allegedly come to assassinate a conservative icon? The answer, investigators believe, lies in a period of intense and private radicalization. According to his family, Tyler had become more politically engaged in the months leading up to the shooting, but not in support of the views he was raised with. In text messages, he expressed a profound and personal hatred for Charlie Kirk, reportedly telling his romantic partner, "I had enough of his hatreds." Evidence suggests meticulous planning. Investigators discovered that Robinson had tracked Kirk's speaking events online and had scouted the university campus before the attack. This wasn't a crime of passion. This premeditation points to a deep-seated conviction. Psychological experts who study these types of crimes suggest that young assassins are often driven by a sense of personal insignificance, a feeling of being wronged by a system they see as unjust, and an inability to see their targets as people. The target becomes a symbol, in this case, a symbol of a political ideology that Robinson had come to despise. For some, a high-profile act of violence is seen as a way to feel important, to force the world to pay attention. It's a devastating path where political rage and personal grievance can combine to justify the unjustifiable. In the wake of his surrender, the legal machinery began to turn. Tyler Robinson was charged with multiple felonies, including aggravated murder. Citing the political motivation and the presence of children at the event, prosecutors in Utah County announced their intention to seek the death penalty. His case now moves slowly through the justice system, with his defense attorneys facing a mountain of evidence. The case, however, isn't without its own turbulence. Online, unsubstantiated theories have spread, suggesting Robinson was framed or is a pawn in a larger conspiracy, with some alleging that federal investigators are withholding key evidence. These claims have found an audience, creating a competing narrative that questions the official account. Robinson's own family has also disputed the official story, creating a painful public rift between the son they know and the horrific crime he's accused of. The court has stated that Robinson is presumed innocent until proven guilty, but outside the courtroom, the story has already taken on a life of its own. The legal proceedings will ultimately determine Tyler Robinson's guilt or innocence, but the questions his story raises go far beyond a single courtroom. It forces us to look at how radical ideas can take hold and the dangerous consequences of our extreme political climate. What are the pressures that can lead someone from quiet dissent to deadly violence? We invite you to share your thoughtful perspectives in the comments. The story of Tyler Robinson is a story of jarring contradictions. A peaceful religious upbringing set against a violent political crime. A young man who surrendered peacefully after allegedly committing a calculated and brutal act. It serves as a dark cautionary tale for a divided time, showing how the gap between opposing political beliefs can widen into a chasm so deep that some may feel justified in crossing it with violence. The case leaves us with unsettling questions. Was Tyler Robinson an anomaly, a lone individual who fell into a vortex of online hate? Was he a victim of brainwashing? Or is he a symptom of a larger, more volatile cultural moment, where heated rhetoric can curdle into rage, and rage can lead to ruin? The answer remains buried in the mind of a 22-year-old from a small town in Utah, and in the soul of a nation left to figure out how it creates its own assassins.